everybody, and welcome to the council meeting tonight at 6:04. I declare the meeting open. The public are advised that it is council policy to record the proceedings of minutes of council on digital media to assist in the preparation of minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of meeting is available. This audio recording is authorised by the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015. Digital recording of the council meetings. Chairman has declared the meeting open, and I've done that. Welcome those all, and I've done that. And it'll be digitally recorded. And I'd like then to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Tomagina people, and to pay our respect to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. Thank you. Record of attendance. We have a full crew of councillors. Thank you. No apologies, and the leave of absence as previously approved is nil. Confirmation of the minutes of our previous meeting. Could I have a move in a second?
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Daniam. Seconded Councillor Bramish. Any corrections to the minutes are to be identified and agreed to at this point prior to taking a vote to adopt the minutes. Does anyone disagree with the recording of the previous minutes? I take that as everyone's happy. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 2.2, minutes of our annual general meeting. That the minutes of the annual general meeting of the Waratah Wynyard Council held at the council chambers at 21 Saunders Street on Tuesday the 2nd of November, a copy of which has been previously circulated to councillors prior to the meeting be noted.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Moved Deputy Mayor Daniam.
I'll second that.
Councillor Edwards seconded. Any discussion before I put the motion? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Declarations of interests on tonight's agenda. Any councillors or staff with an item on the agenda with an interest they'd like to declare? I take that as nil all round. Councillors' announcements and reports. 4.1, the announcements by the Mayor. I really don't have a lot to say other than my communications that are listed there at 4.2. And are there any questions on that before we move that they be noted? Okay, could I have a move in a second that they be noted, please?
I'll move that.
Councillor Bramish moved. Councillor Bradley, was it? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Bradley. Yeah, I should have asked now if there's any questions or any discussion. If there's not, I'll put the motion. No discussion, no questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Reports by delegates, and I do have the Deputy Mayor with a report as a delegate to present to us. Over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Walsh. On the 15th of October, I represented the Mayor at the Tas Art exhibition opening and awarded the Waratah Wynyard Prize to Wynyard artist Christine Matthews. On the 18th of October, I attended the Wynyard Skate Park Art Boards Competition Awards, and on the 19th, I attended the Tasmanian Heritage Council meeting, at which a recommendation was made that all Tasmanian local government areas should develop a local heritage register to be listed within the local environmental plan for each council, primarily for the purpose of ensuring that the region's places of local heritage significance are protected from inappropriate development and demolition. It should be noted at this stage that any such listings will not be formally registered with Heritage Tasmania, but it is an acknowledgement of local heritage sites. On the 20th of October, I attended Rural Clinical School Community Advisory Board meeting as a local government representative, where the 4th and 5th year medical students gave insight into their time on the Northwest Coast. Interestingly, most wished to return to the coast once qualified. On the 29th of October, I represented the Mayor at the Tasmanian Australian of the Year Awards in Hobart, where 2 Wynyard residents were nominated for these awards. Caitlin Johnson won the Tasmanian Young Australian of the Year award. Caitlin is a Palawa woman, a singer-songwriter with her music featured on Triple J Unearthed. She is a Wynyard High School and Project O graduate and is an inspiration to many young Tasmanians, especially those in the Indigenous community. Associate Professor Dr Emma Lee, an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Research Fellow at Swinburne University of Technology, is the second nominee from Waratah Wynyard Municipality in the Tasmanian Australian of the Year category. Dr Emma Lee is a key architect of Reset the Relationship, a Tasmanian government strategy focused on the themes of recognition, reconciliation and real outcomes for Aboriginal communities in Tasmania. Dr Lee's research over the past 25 years has focused on Indigenous affairs, land and sea management, policy and governance of Australian regulatory environments. And on the 9th of November, I attended the Bev McNamara artwork launch in the Wynyard Plaza, and I wish to move that this report be accepted by Council.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Could we have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyland seconded. Any discussions or any questions regarding that report? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Notification of council workshops. There is that the council note the following workshops that have been conducted. We have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hyland moved. And Councillor Bramley seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Councillor attendance records there, that's listed. Any questions regarding that? We don't need a motion, it's just for information. Okay, public questions and statements. I must a little document here. We'll get to where the answers of those previously answered, taken on notice, brings us right through to tonight's questions and statements. Public statements are received in writing and public questions without notice. Okay, before we do that, may I to read the following. The Council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements. Consistent with Council core values, councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with courtesy, fairness, dignity and respect. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in their dealings with Council. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain orderly conduct of Council meetings and to determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to offensive or objectionable or defamatory expressions. I know our members will show proper consideration and courtesy in their comments. Thank you. I'll now invite public statements received in writing. Mr. Ewington, would you like to proceed with your statement, please? It's actually the public statement without notice. It's not the public statements received in writing.
Mr. Mayor, I did give it in writing. What the topic is that?
Well, that's good of you, but we have it here in without notice. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep, very good. As Vice President of the Wynyard Senior Citizen Club, I would like to thank the Council for finally allocating the parking spots to the elderly people. Despite the land being purchased by the club in 1999, it took only 22 years, but better late than never. I would like to raise a request for the Wynyard Council to establish a disability access plan for the area. Nearly 20% of the people in Australia are reported to have a disability, which is a large proportion of the population. People with disabilities are often socially isolated with fewer opportunities to take part in community life. What are simple, basic human movements for the able-bodied can be very difficult for those with disabilities. This can result in loneliness, social isolation and mental health issues. Other councils in Tasmania have been actively working towards implementing thorough and appropriate disability access plans in their areas, including Launceston, Glenorchy, Clarence City Council, Central Coast Council are also now working towards a disability access and inclusion action plan. which focus on promoting inclusion and participation, reducing barriers and changing discriminative attitudes and practice. I would like to request for a working group to be established that includes members and representatives of the disabled community to work with the Council to establish an inclusive disability access plan that is beneficial for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ewington. That concludes our that section for tonight. And we move on to Planning Authority items at a time of 6:14. And questions relating to planning or statements relating to planning are nil. So we'll move on into our planning items, which is 6.3, the amended delegation to process the draft local provision schedule. And there is a recommendation there, councillors?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll move on 1 and 3.
Okay. 1 and 3. That is different to the recommendation. That would have to be an amendment, I guess, Mr. GM. No. Okay. 1 and 3. Councillor Fairbrother moved.
Yeah, I'll second that to hear the conversation. Thanks.
Seconded by Councillor Bramish. Open for discussion, Councillor Fairbrother.
Yeah, Mayor, councillors, I've moved deliberately on 1 and 3 because I believe the local provision schedules are something that we as council need to deal with. I'm concerned about the delegation. Essentially, we'll be providing the authority to council staff to discuss the matters with the TPC and essentially will be left out of the discussion. I think that it's beholden upon council staff to bring the matters back to the planning authority, because it's us that at the end of the day, we as council need to be responsible, and we are representatives of the community. So I think that given the importance of these local provisions schedule, I think that we at least should be aware of the changes as they are brought forward by the Tasmanian Planning Commission. To me, it ensures probity around and transparency about the changes. We're kept abreast of the changes that are required. So hence the deletion of item number 2 and moving on 1 and 3. The provisions thus far have been with the Commission for some time. There doesn't appear to be any apparent urgency, given that we lodged these with the Minister perhaps some time ago. It's been with the Commission for some time. My concern is the desire of the Commission to want to put the planning scheme out for public exhibition over the Christmas period, which I don't support. I think that if there's going to be changes, I would like the TPC to come back to us as a planning authority to say, this is what we propose. If recommendations 2 as per the recommendations left in, essentially council staff can go and make the changes without our knowledge, which may be fine. However, we've done considerable amount of work on the document to where we've got to today, and for me, I'd like to be across any changes that the TPC recommend. So I'd like to move 1 and 3 of the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers regarding this motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I certainly won't be supporting that. I'm just a bit surprised that the statement was coming from the other end of the table when we've just been through a very important review with the GM, and the scoring in that particular item was above all expectations, I think, and what happens with a lot of GMs around the state. And to think that anything that was important in regard to planning wouldn't be brought back to this council table by the GM is just beyond me. I just, for what reason, I don't know what reason you have, to think that he would hold back information and the councillors wouldn't know what the council staff, and that's, you know, that's in very poor taste, what the council staff would go and do without the approval of this council. I find that astounding.
Any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
I'm just a little bit confused. I understand that Darren's just suggested, Councillor Fairbrother, has just suggested that any amendments be brought back to council before it goes back to draft. I don't think there's any inference that we're not trusting the General Manager. I don't think there's any inference that we think our planning authorities will do anything that won't come back to this table. I think he's just suggesting that, correct me if I'm wrong, that in this instance that anything that goes to the draft comes through us first. That's my understanding of why you're leaving that out, that there's no other inference, just that it comes back to us.
Through Mr Mayor, if I might comment, I guess as I see the consequences of leaving item 2 out is that we'll submit our local provision schedule, the Planning Commission will review, and they, in the instance where they may come back and say, look, prior to advertising you need to alter this wording, or can you review this section, this would prohibit the staff from doing anything in that regard prior to bringing it back to council. So it might be a minor administrative wording change, it might be something very minute that needs changing, but the consequence of this wording, as I see it, is that any amendments required whatsoever would need to come back to council. That would be an administrative burden, and I'd suggest may well slow the process considerably. I think the intent of what Councillor Fairbrother is saying, in my understanding, is that items of significance or items that have some materiality need to come back to council, and I think that's understood. But I'd like to think that administrative changes and changes of a minor nature could happen through delegation.
Thank you, Mr GM. Any further speakers? Councillor Deputy Mayor Dunya.
Pardon me. I speak against the motion proposed by Councillor Fairbrother. An assumption is made that the General Manager or the staff will not bring these amendments back to Council for discussion when they have always been brought back to us to consider, with very good advice over the many long years that we have been working on this planning scheme. So I think that we do need to consider the role that our General Manager plays, and that he is being authorised to make those amendments, and I think that we should be supporting that role that the General Manager has.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunya. Any further speakers?
Mayor Walsh, can I foreshadow a subsequent motion post this one? What I've moved is item 1 and 3 of the original discussion. Can I flag that at the conclusion of item 1 and 3, Council separately discuss and debate number 2 in the recommendation for clarification? As can I also flag that I concur with the comments of the General Manager in that it's not my intent to stymie council debate.
I think you need to do this in the closing of the debate on it, Councillor Fairbrother. We're continuing with the discussion and you've foreshadowed what you may do. That's as far as we can go at this stage.
Thank you.
Any further speakers regarding the motion? No further speakers. You can now close the debate, Councillor Fairbrother.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 and 3 are as per the original recommendation. Councillors, what I propose to do is, after this 1 and 3 is put, that we consider as council item number 2 separately. That way we get the opportunity to say what level of delegation we approve council staff, which I think has just been articulated by General Manager. It's not my intent to stifle council staff in their operation. He did indicate that significant items need to come back to council. I think that needs to be reflected in the motion, which it's not in the original recommendation, however, could well be put in a subsequent motion. So items number 1 and 3 are put as per the original recommendation. For me, we need to pass those, and then we can have a subsequent debate on item number 2.
Thank you. Debate is closed on the motion we have at hand, and I will, there'll be a division, so I'll ask for a show of hands. Those in favour of the motion on the books, Councillor Fairbrother and Councillor Courtney. Those against? The balance. Councillor Hyland, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Dunyam, Councillor Bramish and myself. I declare that motion lost. We now revert to back to the recommendation. Any further motions forward coming on that regarding the recommendation?
Just a question, Mr Mayor. So now you're asking for this motion to go through points 1, 2 and 3. Is that what you're asking for, a mover? I'll move that as per that recommendation.
Thank you. Move Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Second one, Councillor Hyland. It's now open for discussion. Those speakers, you wish to speak, Deputy Mayor Dunyam?
Only to say that I did point out that the General Manager should be given the delegation to do his job properly in terms of planning, and I think that to assume that he won't is somewhat disappointing. I do understand that the councillors as a planning authority should be involved, and I believe they will be. So I'm asking the council to support this motion.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
Through you, Mr Mayor, if I can just quickly make a comment. Just to remind elected members that this particular matter has been put forward to amend, a technicality. So this particular motion has come before council previously, many months ago. It was approved at that time. So the only change that is requested from the Tasmanian Planning Commission was a change in wording in item 1, that it says provide to the Tasmanian Planning Commission a local provision schedule, where previously it said provide to the Minister, I think from memory. So that is you have previously provided the authorisation as per the wording in point 2, but we have put the full motion back for consideration. So I just wanted to clarify, you have previously provided that delegation. We have been acting on that authority, I guess, in recent months. As changes are required, but yeah, I just want to put the only item of key significance is that change in wording tonight.
Thanks for that clarification, Mr GM. Any further speakers?
I just got a question,
Councillor
Mr.
Bramish.
Mayor, that may concern a lot of people. Is what's the likelihood, through you to the General Manager, of this being advertised over the Christmas break?
Mr GM, could you answer that question, please?
Through Mr Mayor, look, it's a possibility, but if that is indeed the case, we would make sure that we take that into account. It's in our best interest to make sure everyone can provide comment, and that's what we need to do. So I'm not quite sure, Councillor Bramich, of the exact timing when we may receive notification back, but we'd have to get it to a December meeting, I would think, and at this point in time I'd suggest that would be probably unlikely. So I'd say at this point in time I'd expect it would be New Year. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further speakers regarding the motion we have? Councillor Hyland.
Yes, certainly supporting the motion in its entirety, and the GM's right. We've actually approved all this at the previous meeting that it fronted, and there shouldn't have been any real hiccup, I wouldn't have thought, and certainly entrust that the GM will let us know at any stage if we need to have a round table on any discussion on any point.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Any further speakers? Councillor Fairbrother.
Move an amendment, Mayor, to make minor adjustments to the draft local provisions, the General Manager did offer that significant changes would come back to the Planning Authority. Perhaps that just needs to be reflected in the motion.
The mover of the motion.
I'm quite happy with the motion as it stands in the agenda. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So you wish to proceed with a formal amendment, Councillor Fairbrother? We have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Courtney? Okay, discussion proceeds on the amendment. Do you wish to fill any more information in there, Councillor Fairbrother?
No, I don't, Mayor. I think it's clear to all.
Okay. Any further speakers? The seconder wish to speak?
No, only that I don't see that that's a major error or a major change. I can't see any reason to not support that. And I'd like to just note again, I don't think there was any inference made that the General Manager would not do his job well. We all support the General Manager. We all know that he's good at his job. I don't think that inference was made. So I don't appreciate that that's been repeated again since the first motion. This is a minor amendment. I don't see the problem with it.
Any further speakers? There's been no one speak against the motion.
Mr Mayor, I couldn't support that because we're going back to where we were virtually, and we just got to have that respect of the General Manager and the staff that all information is put on the table for all councillors to deal with at any stage.
Okay, any further speakers? Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Fairbrother? Okay, we will put the amendment and we'll take a vote. It'll be a division. Those in favour of the amendment, please indicate. Councillor Edwards, Councillor Fairbrother, Councillor Bradley, Councillor Courtney, Councillor Bramish. Those against, Councillor Hyland, Deputy Mayor Dunyam, and myself. The amendment is carried. I will now put that as the ask. Do we need a move and a second for the motion now? We just put that as the motion. Yeah. Okay, we'll go back to the motion now. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Dunyam, Deputy Mayor Dunyam and Councillor Hyland was the mover of the original motion, so we will revert to that. And do you wish to speak, the mover or the seconder? No, I'll put the motion then. Those in favour of that amendment to 1, 2 and 3, we will need a division again. I'll ask for a show of hands. Those for that to be included. That is included in this motion now that we're putting any. Wish to indicate, councillors? With this included as the amendment. Councillor Edwards, Councillor Fairbrother, Councillor Bradley, Councillor Courtney, Councillor Bramish. Those against? Councillor Hyland, Councillor Bramish, Councillor Dunyam, and myself. The motion is carried. We now move on to the next item. And there is no more. So the Planning Authority is now closed at 6:32. 6:32. Matters raised by councillors, questions taken on notice from previously. Neil, councillors' questions here, right, Neil. Councillors' questions without notice. We are at that section 7.3 on the agenda. Councillors' questions without notice. Councillor Bramish.
Thanks, Mayor. Got a couple of little ones. out at Port Road, where we sealed that area out there, and it's all line marked now, is any way we can put a couple of tables and chairs there for picnic tables type thing? I don't know whether anything's planned for there or not. I don't know what's going on with the island that's been left in the middle. It's very untidy with weeds. It looks pretty disgusting as an entrance into our town. I reckon we should try and get something done by Christmas if we can. I guess the next one's out at the old port, where we sealed that out there, whether we could see our way clear to put a table and chair or two out there as well.
At Nurses Retreat.
The Nurses Retreat,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
For people pulling up, having a picnic and that sort of thing. So,
Okay, you don't believe that there's anyone here that can answer that at the moment, Mr. GM, is there, in the plans for that area?
no, that's fine.
Through Mr. Webb, we'll certainly check that out. I don't believe there's anything allocated for tables and chairs in those areas, and I would imagine there's some landscaping that hasn't been yet completed in that island in the middle. I've certainly noticed the weeds as well. So I'll get some further information on both of those and bring that back.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mr. GM.
That's fine. And if there's nothing for table and chairs this year, maybe we can budget something for next financial year.
Yep.
For that area.
They're pretty popular areas now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, any further councillors with questions without notice? Councillor Fairbrother.
Two questions on Waratah Dam. Has the decommissioning process of the Waratah Dam commenced? And the second question is, if it has, was there any community consultation as indicated by Mr. Brewster when he video called council or met with council and video called us?
Mr. GM.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, in answer to the first question, certainly the lowering of the water levels in the Waratah Dam has commenced, and every residence in Waratah received a newsletter or an information bulletin, if you like, from TasWater, which outlined that those works were soon to commence, and has included in that documentation a timetable or a timeline, if you like, of proposed activities in relation to the decommissioning. So everyone in Waratah should have received a copy of that particular newsletter and be aware of what is happening. Mr. Brewster has indeed been in contact with myself around, I guess, a community meeting, if you like, but at this point in time, I don't believe that will proceed. That would be, in my view, there's nothing further that I believe can be passed on outside of what was included in the information that's already available at this point in time. So, in the absence of anything new to report, I don't think there's any particular benefit of doing anything else at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. GM. Any further questions? Do you have a comment, Councillor Fairbrother?
Another question, if I might. Concern has been raised about the for the want of a better word, duckboarding in the dam area at Waratah. I recognise that we're awaiting information. As council raised some concern with TasWater about the water security for Waratah.
Through Mr. Mayor, TasWater are certainly well aware of the concerns being raised in relation to the weir and the condition of the weir. We have engaged some consultants to do a condition assessment of the weir. That has been completed. We are getting a consequence assessment being undertaken at the moment. That's yet to be completed. Once both of those documents are received, our intent is to arrange a meeting with TasWater, because clearly they have an interest in the weir for their water supply. Te Pipui are the owners of the weir, and us as current leaseholders of the weir. So we will organise a meeting of the three parties to work through the outcomes of those particular reports and determine what, if any, actions are necessary from there.
Thanks, Mr. GM. You have a problem, Councillor Courtney? Beg your pardon? Okay, any further councillors' questions without notice? Nil, we'll move on. Notices of motion, none received. Reports of officers and committees. 9.1, recommendation there, councillor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question, if I may ask it through you to the General Manager, please.
Yeah, question to the General Manager.
Yeah. Has Sustainable Timbers indicated that they no longer wish to own the Aldina Reserve site?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess the simple answer to that question is no.
Okay, well, I guess by way of clarification, so to date, through any consultations this council has had with Sustainable Timbers, they've not indicated they wish to divest themselves of the Aldina Reserve site?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, not in my discussions with them.
Thank you for that. So I wish to move this particular motion, please.
Okay, move Deputy Mayor Dunyam.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Edwards seconded. It's open for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proponent of this motion categorically and somewhat disrespectfully to the council stated that Sustainable Timbers do not want this site. This was obviously quite an inaccurate statement, as it is clear that from the response to my questions by the GM and the officer comments that this reserve is in the ownership and management of Sustainable Timbers, and that any ideas regarding this site should be directed solely to them. Notwithstanding this comment, this council should continue meeting with Sustainable Timbers to progress a concept plan that hopefully will benefit Waratah Wynyard residents and visitors to the region. It is clear also that Council will continue to advocate in the interests of the Waratah Wynyard community with Sustainable Timbers, and I ask the councillors to support this motion.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards.
At the AGM, I felt it was only respectful in adding the landowner and being fair to all. I was thrilled to see the three motions put up at our AGM, as with this one, it pulls on everyone's heartstrings and the many good memories we have all had there. I look forward to the concept plan or a community forum with the community, Sustainable Timbers and the council. I want to thank Mr. Hutchinson for his hard work and time that he puts in the space for our community and for every meeting that he comes to. I hope that he or other passionate people like himself think about and put their hand up for the next local elections.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Bradley.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a statement of what happened in 2016 when I spoke to three people at Sustainable Timbers at Camdale, and they were happy to give away the land for $1, and they were hoping that council would take it on, but at that stage nobody seemed to be interested, so it never went forward with anything. So I did say that, and I told that to the general manager then, not this one, but a couple of general managers back, that they said to me that we can have the land for $1, but there were things that needed doing, like the road. The road had slipped away. There was motorbikes tearing up the place. There was vandalism, and there was other things. But that did happen. So I'm just letting you know that that did happen then.
Okay, any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
I'm going to support the motion wholeheartedly, and I think it's fantastic that at our AGM we have somebody as passionate as Mr. Hutchinson that's willing to come and put a motion to council. I think that's a credit to the fact that we've involved the community more perhaps than we have before, and we've had those conversations and people are being more involved in what we're doing, that they're watching us online and now they're coming to the AGM and putting up motions. I think this is not only a fantastic motion, but it's a fantastic thing to see that our public are coming and putting up motions at our AGM. I think that's fantastic. So good on Mr Hutchinson for agitating on behalf of the community, and I really hope we can get something up at Aldina Reserve.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers? Councillor Fairbrother.
Mayor and councillors, I don't know that I'm so enthusiastic about this particular motion, and I say that because the previous speakers have articulated that there's a number of issues with the site that need work. One is the road, and I have seen that there is a figure of $400,000 floated around that may need to be spent on the road alone without any upgrade of or provision of any facilities down at the reserve itself. My question is, how is it proposed to be paid for, whatever it is? If we do get it, how is it proposed the council gets the funds to spend on it to provide a new facility for the community? As over a few pages, we have documentation of finances that are required for existing council facilities without any new facilities, and it's outlined there how we potentially could fund them. So if we need $500,000, there's potentially a rate rise of 5 or 6%. And I don't know that the community, while they may be emotionally involved in this and the motions come forward, I don't know that there's been too much thought given to, if it does get up, how are we going to pay for it? And I guess that's my concern. I don't want to be a naysayer, but I think that we need to go into these things with our eyes wide open. And the cost of it, if we get to that stage, hasn't been thought about. Do the community still want it if they want their rates to go up 6, 7, 8% to be able to fund it? If we've gone past the federal election and there isn't any funding about, how are we going to fund it is my concern. There are similarities to this one as to the argument that was put for Pre-Alina Hall. Pre-Alina Hall, to me, was sold. It was claimed that there was community interest. Other than Mr Hutchison, without being disrespectful, I haven't heard too much noise about the closure of that one. This one, I am concerned about how many of those people here at our annual general meeting were here because of the dogs issue. How many here were genuinely interested in Aldina Reserve? I don't know what those numbers were. The fact that there was noise made about this particular motion, yes, it was good that there was a large number of people participating in the debate. I thought that that was the best thing about the annual meeting, was the public attendance and participation in the debate and discussion. Perhaps we should do that more often, and perhaps I think that it needs to be flushed out how many people are interested, and maybe that can be done at a public community meeting. But before we go to a public community meeting, to me we need to have Sustainable Timbers on side. And the motion does reflect that now, with the full support of Sustainable Timber Tasmania. If we don't have that, to me, no public meeting, because essentially they are the key to moving this issue forward, and to do so without them on side is fruitless. So I do support the motion, but I just have my concerns recorded.
Okay, I had you down in the other column there for my Councillor Fairbrother. Any further speakers? Councillor Highland.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'll have to certainly support what Councillor Fairbrother has said and his views on that, because and I did ask the question at the AGM about what happens if we spook Sustainable Timbers, which is quite possible the way those people were carrying on. Now, the very next day, I spoke to at least 4 of those people that were in the gallery. One of them is a big-time builder around town, and I don't think he still understands what actually happened and why he was even here. And when I explained to him what stage they were at, I wish we'd have known that, and I wish there was a few more people who had that understanding. Well, some of those people, like Mr. Hutchison, should come and find out what's actually going on before they put foot in mouth, because otherwise, if we haven't got sustainable timbers on board, and I'd be, for one, would think that they would be a very big participant in helping with some finances on that project to see it through to fruition. So I'll certainly support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Any further speakers? If not, the mover and the seconder. The mover wish to close the debate.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The comments made by all speakers are valid and certainly support the motion. However, for any representative from the community, they have been reminded before they speak that they should speak respectfully to the council, simply because it's very hard to take on an issue if there is disrespect shown for the councillors. The proponent was very passionate and obviously could not get what they wanted at the time on the night. And I think that it is important that we emphasise that the council is going to work with sustainable timbers, advocate on behalf of the community. When we talk about community, I have spoken with Dr. Robin Crabber, and she has indicated there are several community groups, that wish to participate in this conversation, and I think that there is a place to start to find out who actually is interested. And as our conversation has gone ahead, she indicates that the communities themselves should be interested in taking this particular project on. So I think that there's a lot of work to do before we even get to that point. However, I do ask that the council support the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. The debate is closed. I'll now ask for a vote. Those in favour, please indicate. Passed unanimously. We now move on to item 9.2, and it is the dog management policy review, and there's a recommendation there, councillors.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Was it Councillor Courtney? Was it? Yeah. Councillor Courtney moved and Deputy Mayor Dunyam seconded. You wish to start the debate, Councillor Courtney?
No, I think, again, this motion has come from an annual general meeting and a participant from our community, Leanne Raw, and that's backed by the group that was here. I think the debate on the night was good, and I think the amendment came to a place where we could keep the community happy that we are actually going to involve them in the review, but gave us that opportunity to do it through a normal process rather than halfway through. And I thank the public for supporting the amendment to the motion. That was good of the gallery to understand that the amendment was in the best interest. So I think that made this a really good motion to put forward. And I'm glad that we've got community groups that are willing to come and work with us on policies that we're putting out. I think that again shows that we're communicating well with the public and we're getting more involved and we're getting more feedback. And I think that says a lot in what the council general manager and the council staff are doing for the community involvement. So yeah, a good motion on behalf of the public.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers? Oh, Councillor Fairbrother.
Well, I'll say, Mr. Mayor, this motion aside, for me, all of the issues there would have occurred anyway as a matter of course. Yes, it is good that it's been brought to our attention. However, I still believe that the key to our dog management policy in this particular area is not so much the ratepayers, it's Parks and Wildlife, because it's the Parks and Wildlife that keep jumping from foot to foot on this issue. And that's where we as council have difficulty, is to me because the Parks and Wildlife people have changed their position originally to where we are at now. And that has caused some discontent amongst the community, and that is why I believe we have this motion before us tonight, is because of Parks and Wildlife changing their position and the untimeliness that was caused by that. I believe that I said the other night, and I'll say it again tonight, I believe that it's always been the intent of council to involve the community again when we review the policy. That's hard to get out. So for me, each of these items, I do believe that is the intent of council once we undertake a review to involve the community.
Thank you. Any further speakers before I put the motion? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I know Mrs. Raw knew that this was all going to happen, but she felt very passionate about it, and so by adding like a working group in there, she knew that she was cementing, you know, to be able to have a real voice in there. So.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No one spoken against it. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please indicate. Everyone, I'll declare the motion closed, passed unanimously. Item 9.3 on the agenda, which is gender equity. And as a recommendation that the council note the information provided regarding gender equity and in response to the Local Government Professionals Australia Gender Balance Target Toolkit.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam moved. Councillor Courtney, any discussion? For and against? Councillor Courtney. Oh, Councillor, the mover of the motion wish to speak first? Whichever.
No, I think we're only noting this report, so there's nearly no action from council required. However, I would like to just take the moment to say we've got equal representation sitting in our management, we've got equal representation sitting at our council. We're pretty good on staff, but I really hope this helps to work towards Manager Bradley trying to recruit some young males to the childcare industry. I think it was really disappointing to hear that there's just not enough males in the childcare industry, and that children need that father figure, and where they don't have that, it would be good to have men in the childcare industry. So I would hope that this would help, this toolkit, for us to be able to find a way to try and recruit to that area. See, I was very disappointed to hear that we don't have equal representation there, so I think that this is hopefully going to help us to work towards that, but we're doing well in all other quarters.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Yeah, Councillor Fairbrother.
Yeah, I endorse those sentiments expressed. The recommendation is for notation only. The report has been provided to us by the Local Government Professionals Association. As the previous speaker indicated, as elected members around the table, we're 50-50. I don't know that you can do any better than that. It's the staffing is the purview of the General Manager. Given that the Local Government Professionals Association have put this document out, perhaps that is, as rightly pointed out, an area that we... No, I'll just leave it there. Thank you. I think you knew what was coming. I'm not going to say that.
Any further speakers? No one spoken against. We'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 9.4 on the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved Deputy Mayor Duniam. Seconded Councillor Hyland. Any speakers?
Yes, Mayor Walsh, with our borders fully opening on the 15th of December, here's an opportunity for our council to exploit this, considering that there will be a huge influx of mainland tourists, which will revitalise our local tourism economy. I don't just think, I believe strongly that Table Cape is without doubt one of Tasmania's most iconic lookouts. And the proposed upgrades will render this site as world class as a tourist destination. So I ask the council to support this motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further speakers? Councillor Hyland.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, couldn't let this one go. I'm certainly happy about another project in town, and particularly up in the Cape area. I suppose the one disappointment for me is the fact that we turned down $1.1 million that was sort of handed to us for a one of a chance of a lifetime with a loo with a view, which would have brought in triple the amount of tourists what you think you might get for around the lighthouse. And when all said and done, it was sort of knocked out on the fact that we was going to cost us $30,000 to clean the toilets. And I think that was a real shame, Mr. Mayor, when we could have really leaped ahead with this one. But anyway, we'll be grateful for this one, and I'll certainly support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Any further speakers? No more speakers. I'll put the motion. Those all in favour, please indicate. Please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.5, the Wynyard Sports Precinct. Councillor Courtney. Councillor Fairbrother seconded. Discussion. Those mover wish to speak.
No, I'd like to thank the General Manager and the staff for the work that they've done on this one. I think the Wynyard Sporting Precinct, correct me if I'm wrong, has been around since I was an employee. So this has been in the pipeline for a very long time, and I think that it's great that Shane's, the General Manager, has actually brought it to the point where we can put it out to public consultation, and it actually looks really good, and I feel like it's going to get the feedback, and that the General Manager has gone out and spoken to the key stakeholders, and we've got that buy-in that we didn't have before. So well done, General Manager and staff, that we can actually now put this forward to public consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 9.6.
Yeah, Mayor Walsh, I'll move as per the recommendation with an addition on the following words. On point 4, I would like to have at the end of public recreational uses the words whilst preserving the natural values identified in the flora and fauna assessment.
Okay. We'll leave that for Rose to adjust. Just again for councillors' benefit, on the end of public recreational uses, add the words whilst preserving the natural values identified in the flora and fauna assessment.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Duniam seconded.
Mayor, speaking to the motion, thank you for the seconder. It is articulated within the report that very amendment that I've added. I think council staff have done a good job in identifying that there are some naturally occurring values on this land, and I think what that amendment in the motion from the recommendation does, just to enshrine in concrete that those natural values identified in the report need to be preserved. So yes, we go and find out or work out other potential uses of the land. However, the priority for me is those naturally occurring natural values that have been identified on site. The preservation of those I think is a good thing for this council to do, and I don't say that lightly, and I'm not by any means a dark colour of green when it comes to the environment. However, I believe that as council we need to be more socially responsible in relation to the environment. And it has been identified in Wynyard that there are a number of parcels of native vegetation. Goldie Street has been one. Ballard Avenue is another. And I think it's prudent for council to take the high moral ground, I say, and look after the natural flora and fauna that we do have, because future generations might look back and say, oh, what a nice parkland we've got here. A piece of natural vegetation in the middle of town. Whilst we may not see that now, perhaps somewhere down the track, people walking along the river track and walking through that space, or whether they're exercising the dog in the area or whether they're free camping in that space, may look upon the swift parrots, if they're there, or the other flora and fauna that might be frequenting the area and say, oh, all those years ago when council went and put that land aside, wasn't that a good move on their part? Perhaps won't be popular at the moment, but down the track, dare I say, it will be. So I look forward to the next stage of the project and see what council staff and others can come up with for the use of the land. However, I still say that preserving the gum trees that are there that we didn't know were there is good for the council to preserve. So I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councillor Fairbrother. Any further speakers? Councillor Bramish.
Yeah, look, I won't disagree with what anything's been said. And I guess we're so lucky to have something like that so close to our town, within walking distance. So I think we owe it to everybody to look after it.
Thank you, Councillor Bramish. Any further speakers before I put the motion? I'll put the motion.
Can I just sum up?
There hasn't been
Councillor,
anyone speak against it, Councillor Fairbrother, but you can have a little go if you wish.
I'll just be short.
That's
Councillor Bramage referred to us being so lucky. I say we are so lucky because we've got people within our community that take an interest in these type of issues. And if it wasn't for those people that took an interest in the native vegetation, perhaps this wouldn't be at council now. So yes, I say yes, we are so lucky on more than one front.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. We'll now move to 9.7 on the agenda, the spring-loaded program there, and it's
So moved, Mr.
for
Mayor.
noting. Moved, Deputy Mayor Dunyam, seconded by Councillor Courtney. Okay. Any speakers? Do you wish to speak, Deputy Mayor Dunyam, the mover?
Very briefly, Mr. Mayor, this was an amazing program, and the original Spring Loaded last year happened because of COVID-19. We've continued with that, and it's grown, and I've heard nothing but good reports because this particular program was fun for everybody. It accommodated everybody, young and old. Also encouraged the businesses to take part, and I will say, as a Somerset Rotarian, we were able to include our event in that as well. So I think that this was a fabulous program that fitted the bill. I'm not sure whether we will be going back to our original Tulip Festival, but we filled in a very big gap, and it was done so very well. And thank you to Chantel French for the good work that she has done.
Any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
No, I note that it's only a report that for council for noting, but I'd like to reiterate what Deputy Mayor Dunniam has just pointed out, that we've done really, really well with the spring-loaded program. I think that, to change the program on the fly to make sure we could still go ahead was an incredible task, and for the second year in a row have that restriction on us, which just quietly I'm still angry about. I cannot see the reason that we had restrictions on it this year, but by the by. I would actually like to just note that the reports come back that we've done excellent with the spring-loaded program, which is fantastic, but I'm one of those people that really likes that day down in the park. I'd love to see a combination of the two going forward, because I think the single day doesn't allow as many people to come as we would like to come. And over the month, we seem to attract a lot more visitors for a longer period of time. So I would love to see some sort of dual, like a spring-loaded program that still has that one day. But fantastic job to the staff that we've been able to actually do the event again when so many events across Tasmania were closed down. So good job to the staff again.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers? Councillor Bramish.
Just briefly, Mayor. Look, last year when we talked about this, I didn't think it was possible, but I was wrong. Brilliant last year and double brilliant this year. I never heard a bad report about it, so I say well done, staff.
Yeah.
I'd like someone to pay their regards on to Chantel about the work she's obviously put into it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bramish. Any further speakers?
The community support out there is just unbelievable for what they've achieved, and I'm not sure how you're going to fit we want the day back, but I'm not sure how you're going to fit it in with the rest of it.
Thank you. Any further speakers? I probably a chance to say something, and when it was first mooted what we might do, I just sat in the chair and wondered, was it going to be worth the effort? And I just couldn't see it being worth the effort. And I tell you what, I was wrong again. It was so good. And look, I get about a bit, and you know, from one end of the state to the other, and it has brought people from everywhere. There is someone from most places that has experienced it over that month, and you know, and what went on up at the Chula farm over that period of time, and the visitors around Table Cape and the area. Look, it just give them more time to sort things out. It was, and enjoy what we've got. I met some people from Queensland just this afternoon at 3 o'clock down at the Wonders of Wynyard, and we were launching the Christmas giving appeal, and I ran into these people, and they went out to look at the Wonders of Wynyard cars and the what do you call the compliments that they've been travelling around Tassie for a long time, these retired people, and the compliments that about the experience that they had in our area was pretty good, I tell you. I nearly grew another leg, I felt that good. So, you know, well done to the staff, and thanks very much. I'd like to put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. (9.8) on the agenda is the award of a contract for the cleaning services for the council facilities.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Councillor Hyland. Councillor Hyland seconded. Any speakers regarding this motion? I'd just like to say something, and I believe it's great that it is written there where the current staff are carried on with this successful tenderer, and that is great. Thanks for including that, Mr GM. It's you know, we're looking after our community and they're looking after us, and we're going well. Thank you. Any further speakers?
I just got a question, Mr. Mayor, through you to the General Manager, I guess. This would be a first for a big contract rather than us having the cleaners employed?
Through Mr. Is this the first time that council's contracted out the cleaning? Is that the question?
To a bigger company.
Oh, look, I don't know the history, to be honest, but certainly in recent times,
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
No, I support.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Are there any speakers that wish to comment? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 9.9, the financial report for the period ended the 31st of October.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Seconder, please. Councillor Courtney. Any speakers? Any questions?
Yes, Mayor Walsh, I think we need to note the favourable variances with explanations provided on pages 68 and 69, which strongly suggest that this council is tracking well against its budget forecast.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Any further speakers? Councillor Hyland.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just in the remissions and discounts, I just noted that people opted to pay early, and that came at a small cost to the council, $448,000.
For them grabbing the opportunity.
Good to see.
Yeah, keen to go. No worries. Any further speakers or any questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. That was 9.9. We're looking at 9.10, which is the Senior Management Report.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Second, Councillor Courtney. Any speakers, any questions?
Just briefly, please, Mayor Walsh, I'd like to congratulate the General Manager and the Council staff on the successful outcome with the Fairy Godmothers to proceed with the All Ability Playground at Anzac Park in Somerset. So very well done.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Fairbrother. Oh, did you have your light on, Councillor Highland?
I did it.
Yeah, that's all right. Councillor Fairbrother, your turn.
Question to the General Manager. Page 79 of the agenda has a line item there on local government reform. My question is, how is it proposed that we further discuss the position of council on this one?
Mr. GM.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, all of the information, I guess, available in relation to local government reform is included in the sheet attached to the agenda. I expect that there'll be further discussion from an industry point of view at the LGAT meeting on the 3rd of December, and we have not yet received an agenda or discussion papers for that particular meeting. So I think when those papers become available, it's most likely that council will workshop them. The mayor will need some guidance around, I guess, any matters that will require discussion or debate on the day. So to answer your question specifically, I suspect a workshop initially, pending receipt of information over the next few weeks.
Thanks, Mr. GM. Any further questions regarding the senior management report? I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Minutes of other bodies and committees, there are nil. And item 10 is the matters proposed for consideration in the closed meeting, and it is that the council resolves on absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in closed meeting.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Duniam moved. That was Councillor Courtney. Closure of the meeting to the public. Recommendation there at 7:16. We close the meeting to the public. Moved Councillor Highland. Councillor Courtney. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried.